Hello there, Parth Sharma this side, bringing you chess classics in which I'm covering top 15 games played by Garry Kasparov. Do take time to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. If you're already subscribed, then do press the bell icon for future notifications. And if you liked my work, then do consider supporting me on Patreon and PayPal. The links you will find in the description because your support is my motivation which keeps me going. And also you will find the PGN of this game that I'll be covering in the description box. So our countdown in top 15 games played by Garry Kasparov has reached number 3. So we are in top 3 and this is one of my favorite games of Garry Kasparov, and there were two more games better than this game. So if not for those two, then this would surely have been at number 1. And this is his game against Viswanathan Anand from World Chess Championship match 1995, Game 10, the so-called famous Game 10. And the very interesting prelude there is coming to this game. At the start of this game, Kasparov was trailing a point to Anand. He lost game 9 and he's coming into game 10 with a loss behind his back. So it was very necessary to win this game and to gain the lost ground, to cover up for the mistakes that he committed. And we joined this famous game 10. A remarkable game this was. Well, anyway, Kasparov is white, Anand is black. Kasparov opens with e4, e5, and we see the Royal Lopez on the board with more free defense on the board. Bishop a4, knight f6, castles, and we don't see bishop e7, which we saw yesterday with Karpov's game. We now see knight takes e4, so Anand applies this open Spanish variation in World Chess Championship match, so he must be really prepared for this. And well, let's say if you play white plays d4, when if you play e takes d4 trying to gain another pawn, but then rook e1, d5 and knight takes d4, you cannot save this knight. And if you play, let's say, bishop e7, then this knight drops. Pawn takes not possible because bishop takes will come with check and the rook will be hanging. So that's why after d4 Anand plays b5, and this is all very well known standard theory. Bishop tucks back to b3, and again you cannot take this pawn because after e takes, rook e1, same story, d5, and now you don't have to play knight takes d4, but instead you can play knight c3. This is very cute because if you take, then bishop takes d5 wins. Let me show you. Yep. So after knight c3, he can play bishop e6, but then knight takes e4, d takes e4, rook takes e4. Solid position indeed. And even though white looks a pawn down, he will eventually regain this pawn. 3 pieces are behind it. So that's why Anand doesn't go for this variation. Instead, after bishop b3, he plays d5, protecting the knight and also solidifying the center. Kasparov takes. Now d5 pawn is under attack. So bishop e6, and in one game, Hikaru played, I think, queen e2 against Magnus. Well, that came as a novelty, but the move knight b2, this was pretty much very standard, very well known. He could have played rook e1 also, or queen e2 for that matter, as I already mentioned, but still knight b2, very solid, principled move. Knight c5, so he doesn't want to exchange this good knight. c3, making room for this bishop coming here, and if black wants to, he can take this bishop, but this knight is very much, I would say, worth more than this bishop. Well, as I always say, in open positions, bishop is worth 3 points and knight is worth 2.5, but in this case this bishop is somewhat pretty much logged. by these pawns. So this bishop isn't too much worth. c3 is one attempt to making this bishop well worth it, but by playing this, that can compromise with black's development, and this king is still in the middle of the board. Not a pleasant situation. And here black can play bishop e7 to gain a solid structure, solid position, and there we go, we see d4 in this position, and this looks like a deja vu because everything is following from Capo against Korchnoi match in Baguio, Philippines in 1978. So everything is following the same route, everything is following the same moves as well. And Capo was really uncomfortable with Korchnoi's d4 move, and he wanted to play something big here. And this was the move that Capo designed for Korchnoi, and this was the move that Kasparov played against Anand in this game. Knight g5. Brilliant move. This knight is not protected by the bishop because there is knight in between, and it's okay to take this knight on g5 by playing queen takes g5. And this was played by Shirov in 2001, but Shirov played inaccurately and lost that game to Kasparov. So what's the point of giving this knight? Well, queen f3, and if you try to save this knight, then by playing this or king d7, then things can turn really nasty for black. So the best move here in this position is to castle, and after queen takes c6, Kasparov played bishop e6 against Shirov, and as I said, one beautiful game, although played inaccurately by Shirov. And this is not the game, by the way. This is the variation of what would happen if queen takes knight. And let's say after queen takes e5, knight f3, queen d5 looks pretty much paradoxical, placing the queen into this line, but in fact it's fine. After bishop takes, this queen is trapped, has no squares, so the best move here is to just play knight takes, give up this queen, and after rook d6, the position would still be level, pretty much okay. But nevertheless, we are all following the Karpov-Korchnoi trail. I mean, the players are following the same trail. Korchnoi played d takes c3, and so did Anand in this game. By the way, I should say this position, queen takes d5, after knight g5, queen takes d5. Anand had the same position against Shirov, Grishchuk and Swidler with white pieces, and he drew those games. So that's one point. Anyway, back to the game. D takes c3, which was played by Korchnoi as well as by Anand against Kasparov in this game. Knight takes e6, pawn takes, b takes c3, and queen d3. So we are following the same trail, and the position is still same from that Karpov-Korchnoi game in Baguio 1978. We were following the same trail, and by the way, this position came in game 6 of the same tournament, and here Kasparov in game 6 played knight f3, and in Karpov-Korchnoi, Korchnoi took the queen, whereas Anand had prepared castle and got a very sharp position, pretty much double-edged, and people criticized both players, that both players had chances in this game, in game 6 I'm talking about. And it was pretty interesting that both players didn't try to win, and both players received a lot of flack on that. But Kasparov lost game 9 and was trailing 1 point behind against Anand, the youngster. And it's pretty much incredible the way Kasparov was playing. Both players were playing instantly in this moment. And here's the critical point. Knight f3 draws. He didn't get a good position after game 6. And he lost game 9. So he needs to strike back. And what does he do? Plays bishop c2 here. Big new move here. And it was pointed out later that Mikhail Tal found this bishop c2 move in the match in Karpov-Korchnoi match in 1978, and but they didn't find anything concrete that what to do, what is White's plan after this. And it was amazing that Kasparov, whenever he plays the moves in this game, he just get up from his chair, slam the door of this goldfish bowl at the 107th floor of the South Tower of the World Trade Center, which unfortunately was destroyed in 9/11 attacks. So sad, it happened 6 years before that 9/11 attack. And as I've already mentioned, that it was coincidence that the tournament began on September 11, 1995. And Kasparov also mentions that. Anyway, bishop c2, and there is absolutely nothing better, and Anand has no option but to take the pawn on c3, because if he doesn't, then queen h5 check. If you play g6, then bishop takes g6, will be devastated. And Anand played this move thinking for 4 mares, which meant that he knew this bishop c2 and queen takes c3 beforehand. But now things started to begin a little bit shaky for Anand, because Kasparov had prepared this spectacular move. I would let you take a pause and think what Kasparov plays here. Well, if you have found it out, brilliant. And if you want to enjoy the show, Kasparov plays knight b3. Instantly gets off from his chair, and when he played bishop c2 and knight b3, he just slammed the door of the goldfish bowl in which they were playing, just to show Anand that he's not in a friendly mood. He was in a friendly mood before queen d3 move by Anand, but he wasn't in a good mood at all playing this knight b3. Got up from his chair, slammed the door, and giving Anand a very strict message. Well, he was like if storm some sort of struck Anand after playing knight b3. And it is pretty interesting in this position when Anand took the knight here, but after the game it was found out that rook d8 was the move in this position, was played in 1990 correspondence game between Van den Berg and Nevis Wheat. Pardon my pronunciation. And as I said, it was very difficult playing knight b3. It's very incredible. Anand was simply stunned that Kasparov is giving up this full rook in this position. Anand plays knight takes b3, and it was also incredible that he played this move after a 45-minute thought. So you can understand that he was literally taken aback, and for a player of stature of Anand, who used to finish his games, even his classical games, in 10 minutes or even in an hour, takes 45 minutes on a move, was giving something. Well, what's the point here? And there aren't any safe continuations. By the way, I should say after knight b3, Anand took the knight, but rook d8, bishop d2, queen takes e5. Still, White's position is a lot better. After rook e1, queen f6, still he has absolutely raging initiative on black because of this poor king sitting in the center of the board. Position looks absolutely hopeless for black. Although, if moves played accurately, black would try to hold on to this position, but it's very difficult because you have entered into an unknown territory, and it's no coming back. So after knight b3, Anand takes, bishop takes b3, and it's pretty interesting. Anand doesn't take the rook immediately. He plays knight d4 in this position. Well, let's see what happens if he takes the rook. And this was Kasparov's idea, pretty idea. He wanted to play queen h5 check, to preempt this g6 and only then going to f3, where we will look after we will look at that variation after. But let's have a look at the move king d7, and I should mention that if he goes here, then bishop g5, discovered attack, picks the queen. So king d7 would be the good option. But then comes another sacrifice. Bishop takes e6 check, and this king is getting caught in the middle of the board. King takes e6, queen g4 check, king f7, and queen f3 check. This knight is hanging, and obviously if you go king g8, then queen b3 or queen d5 will be checkmate. So you have to play king e6, but then queen takes knight check, and white is gaining all its material. The rook is hanging, but that rook can be defended by playing bishop d6 in this position. So this rook defends this rook, but as I said, this king in the middle of the board looks really shaky. And if you think that queen e5 can save you, well, white can simply play bishop d2 or bishop b2 to play rook e1, and that would be the end of the world for black. And if I have to say it precisely, it would be mate in 13 in this position. If bishop d2 or bishop e2, and then if queen takes pawn, rook e1 check will end the game. So king d7 is a very dangerous proposition, and so black can play g6, but then queen drops back to f3. Well, the point of playing queen h5 check first and then playing to f3, that this f6 square is vacated for us. And if black plays something like knight d8 in this position, and then you can go queen f6, not queen a8. Let me just show you. If queen takes a8, then queen takes e5, queen takes a6, bishop d6, black is a pawn up and his king is really safe. Black has returned the rook but has found king security. Already there is a pressure here, and black would castle on the next turn. This would be actually winning for black. But after knight d8, you don't need to play queen takes rook. You can simply play queen f6. The rook is hanging, rook g8, and then bishop takes e6, and you will see a fantastic combination in which black picks the queen in the corner, e6 check, and the loose queen on a1 drops. Another try after queen f3 can be you just castle, but then again queen takes knight, and with the advancement of these two pawns here has really put this king in a very precarious situation. This king has no escape squares now. If you try to retreat your queen, but then white's attack is really sharp, king b8 is the only move, because if you play let's say king d7, but then comes bishop f4, very good deflection move. This can't be taken because queen takes e6 will be mate. So queen e2, queen a5, and if you play bishop d6, then rook e1 is crushing. The queen defends the rook, and things are crashing on this square with a devastating attack. And by the way, I should say after king b8, bishop e3 is the end of the world, because you cannot play c5 because queen b6, and if you play bishop c5, then queen takes b5 wins the bishop. So this was a very long variation in which Anand found himself in, that even with this free rook, black's king is not safe. So and also this knight in many variations is hanging. You see in every variation that knight on c6 is dropping. So he improves the knight's position, plays knight d4, and again Kasparov gets to his table, writes Anand's knight d4 on his score sheet, and plays this queen g4. Incredible move, again giving up this rook on a1, not bothered about it at all, and it's a quiet move. Checked through the computer, and Kasparov remarked that this was the birth date of computer preparation, and there aren't any safe continuations. For example, if black castles, then bishop g5 loses the opportunity of taking the rook, and already bishop takes e6 is threatened. There is absolutely no defense to that, so Anand had no option but to take the rook in the corner. Again, Kasparov comes to his table, writes queen takes a1 on the board, and instantly plays bishop takes e6. And again, there aren't any safe continuations here. For instance, if you play queen c3, then comes bishop d7 check, king f7, and bishop e3, not only threatening e6 but also removing the defender, and playing queen e6 mate is another option, and there isn't any good way to counter that. So if you think that you have got your queen out, but still the queen is still swimming with sharks around it. So after bishop takes e6, Anand played rook d8, stopping this bishop d7 check, and he played it confidently, quickly. Again, he was very confident, he was coming with a win, he was in form, and he was like trying to play it confidently, even though it took 45 minutes for that move, knight takes b3, but still he's trying to gain some confidence. There aren't any good continuations, by the way, apart from rook d8, perhaps the best move. And here comes another spectacular move by Garry Kasparov. I would like to give you some time, take a pause and think. Well, if you found it out, brilliant. And if you just want to enjoy the show, it's bishop h6 double exclaim, brilliant move. And this is an incredible move because it creates a mating construction around this black king. With this move rook d8, it takes away this square away, d8 square away from this black king, and now this defender is the only source of defending queen h5 check. Bishop h6 is also a deflection move, but also creates a discovered attack on the black queen, and this is incredible because attack is keep continuing flowing onto black from different sources, and he's not getting a time to develop his pieces. For let's say if he plays queen takes f1 check, king takes, g takes h6, then queen h5 check, king e7, queen f7 is mate, cannot do anything. Alternatively, if he plays pawn takes, then it is mate straight away, like that, checkmate. So there aren't any good continuations, and this was the main point where Anand simply slipped up. He played queen c3, and it was pointed out later that queen b2 was the best move in this position. So let's have a look at queen b2. But then bishop takes g7, you have to give that bishop. But after queen e2, bishop takes, queen takes, bishop takes. There are so many pieces on the board. With this extra piece on the board, this knight on the board, it would be very difficult to pass this pawn to a queen, even though it's a central passed pawn, and white has two bishops as well. Still strategically winning, but very tough indeed. So queen b2 would have been a move well worth considering. But Anand plays queen c3, and this was the point where tide turned. After bishop takes g7, obviously taking the bishop would lead to queen h5, queen f7. Let me show you. Bishop takes, queen h5 check, king f8, queen f7 mate. Same would have happened if king e7. So after bishop takes g7, he's really running very short on moves in defending the king. So he has to play queen d3 to give his rook. Bishop takes h8, and now we reach another position where white is a pawn up and he has recovered its rook. And it was pretty interesting. Some people said that knight e2 check wins the exchange like this, but look at this position. Bishop pair and a passed pawn is well worth equal to a queen. There's absolutely no way with this king sitting in the center of the board that would escape any sort of attack, and this is hopeless, absolutely hopeless position for black. So after bishop takes h8, it is very important not to stop only queen h5 but also to stop queen g8, and that is another threat to play queen f7 mate like that. So he plays queen g6, stopping queen g8 and also attacking this bishop, double attack on this bishop. So interference, bishop f6 move, defends the bishop, and this was the point that Kasparov stopped thinking and he puts his wristwatch besides his score sheet because he has assessed he's a clear pawn up, so he would be winning. And we reach this end game where all pieces are on the board, and we reach this critical position again. If white tries to hurry with the move like f4, then c5, and suddenly black's counterplay looks really solid with this 3 against 1, and with this bishop sitting on g4, white's push looks really slow. So after king e7, it was very important to stop the c pawn by playing rook c1, another double exclaim move. I would say single exclaim, but still an incredible move. Look at this bishop doing a tremendous job, not only defending this backracking mate, but also defending knight e2 check. And simply this bishop has been man of the match for this game. It has totally dominated. The rook cannot come to c8 to defend, the king cannot come here to defend, the knight cannot come here to defend, the bishop will take and you drop this pawn, he will 2 pawns up. Probably if knight comes here anyway, then you can just simply take it, and if king takes, still you can play even f4 and that would be winning, or maybe rook c6 check will be a good move. So the only good move is c6, and now you can play f4, but Anand starts to push his queenside majority, whereas Kasparov tries to centralize his king, and there is no good way to defend against that. Now the king has come all the way to e3. These 2 pawns are looking really threatening. So what's the best way to defend these pawns is to play bishop d1, another double exclaim move, incredible move, attacking this a4 pawn. And if you, let's say, play b3, thinking like a takes, rook b1, you can see that this rook is overloaded, so it cannot go here to defend because it has to watch over this knight. So the rook is overloaded. So after bishop d1, Anand had no option but to play a3, and now by playing bishop d1, it gives this pawn also the space to play g4 and rook d5. So now it's time, after rook c4, with these queenside pawns under control, to gobble up this weak c6 pawn. So rook c4 initiates this because the knight is attacked twice, and if knight moves, then rook will take the pawn anyway. c5, but the pawn drops like that. Knight goes to e6, rook d5. Better was to exchange the rooks to get this knight and pawn endgame like that, but still you think that he would be just a pawn up, but his central pawns will do the job anyway, and you will gobble up these pawns as well because king will float here and take these pawns. So that's why he played rook c8, f5 attacks the knight, so intermediate check, and then knight c5, g5, and this is already lost. Let's see what happens after this. So rook c1 and rook d6. This was the final move of the game, and after which Anand resigned the game. Well, why did he resign? Well, if you play b3, then there is a mating net like that, and no point in queening because this will be mate. Otherwise, after rook d6, you have to play rook takes, and the situation, even with this 2-1 against queenside, still looks hopeless. And So here Anand resigned. Wow, this deservedly so was at number 3, one of the best games ever by Garry Kasparov. And this game hit really hard to and inform Anand because he was really done with the preparation. And some years after, when he was asked that after 9 moves, after 9 games, he was leading, and suddenly what happened? And he said that he was being naive playing open Spanish when he played in game 6. He was being naive playing the same, and obviously he was 25. He didn't have that much experience of World Chess Championship matches, which Kasparov had after competing in so many games against Karpov and one in 1993 against Short. So Kasparov had that experience, and he said if we had played another World Championship match in 2007 or 8 or something, he wouldn't have gone into the same variation again. And this game really hit him hard because after this game he lost game 11 and he lost game 13 and game 14 and lost the match 10 and a half to 7 and a half. And yeah, this was a very big stepping stone of Anand, that how can someone serve him home cookie. He also said that he didn't like Kasparov slamming the door after he made after every move he made, and Karpov, if Karpov would have been there, then he would have protested. But I thought that my position was so bad that even if he hadn't slammed the door, he would have lost the game anyway. So why bother protesting in a bad position? He would have protested in a good position, but if your position is already bad, so there is no point in protesting. And this game was really put a lot of impact on so many grandmasters, because after this novelty, and there was huge reduction in playing this variation, and yeah, it came as a big shock to Anand, and he didn't recover with it. But it gave him confidence in future matches, that how to deal with such situations. Well, I hope you liked the video. I hope you liked my analysis. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Cheers. Bye.